Hey, what's up, Sim fans? Welcome to VR Simulation, dedicated to bringing you the latest news and reviews for all simulations in virtual reality. Hey, VR Simulation fans, welcome back for our fourth episode of this podcast, introducing the Oculus Rift. I got my dev kit this past Tuesday and been having a lot of fun playing around with it, trying out a few of the games and demos available to the community. And so let's get right into it. I want to talk this week about two different types of experiences: native Rift support and third-party drivers for older games. So the basics is that many developers are developing content for the Oculus Rift where the screen's formatted properly so that you see it in an appropriate way in the Rift, and two, so that head tracking is supported within the content being developed. The other type of experience is what I'm calling a third-party driver, and there are actually three different companies. I think a lot of people are focused on Vereio Perception and VorpX, but there is a third, NTHUSIM, who are working on third-party drivers. Let's talk about third-party drivers for a minute. Essentially, they are creating drivers which augment existing games to reformat the screen so that it fits and works and views properly in the Oculus Rift, and also allowing for some sort of support of head tracking. This is obviously a lot more challenging than just designing something ground up for the Rift. But it's very important, I think, at the early stages, because there's so many experiences, so many games that people are looking forward to trying in a virtual reality environment. And so the more successful these third-party drivers are, the better for all of us. So let's look up at the top screen here. I'm on the Vireio, I don't know how to pronounce it, honestly. The Vereio Perception drivers page. This is a very simple page. There's the latest beta that they were currently working on and the latest stable build. Now keep in mind, this is still very beta, if not alpha code, so don't get too excited. This is the only one currently available to the community, and the guys are hard at work on it. It is open source. That means it's free, and it's available now. It only works with DirectX 9 games, however. That's one big limitation. But they're hard at work on it, and the experience is pretty good in several titles already. So if you have a Rift, definitely download that, try it out, and we'll get into more details in a minute. Let's see. They have a wiki set up, which is good, and they also have a sub-forum at the Meant to Be Seen 3D forums, which is dedicated to the Vereio Perception drivers. So if you have questions about how to get a game working or whatnot, you can post your questions at Meant to Be Seen 3D. The second title I mentioned is VorpX. VorpX is another third-party driver, and they are working hard on implementing Rift support for older titles. They've already talked about approximately 80 titles that are going to be supported. However, it's not yet available. So we've seen a couple of people, for instance Cymatec Bruce, I'll put the link below for his video, testing the VorpX beta drivers, and they seem to be working fairly well. So a lot of people are really excited to see. However, they're not going to be free. Right now, price is just speculation, but it looks like it may be $40 or more. So a little on the high price end of the spectrum. Who knows? They could bring it down. Let's hope they do. If not, hopefully they offer a compelling solution. It is going to be DirectX 9, 10, and 11 compatible, and they already have a pretty long list of titles that they are planning to support. So it definitely looks like it has promise. They also have a blog and a forum, which is fairly active. Mostly people asking, when's it going to come out? The third and final third-party solution that I'm aware of is by a company called NTHUSIM, who've actually been around for quite a while. They are known for multi-projector screen setups, where you have multiple projectors projecting onto curved screens with edge blending technology. And they're very good at what they do. They've been around for several years. Their software's definitely in the higher price category. However, it's fairly well regarded within the upper end of the sim and enthusiast communities, as well as in commercial circles. So they announced last September, about the same time the Oculus Rift was announced, that they were going to develop software for HMDs, and it's only $19.95, and I pre-ordered it right away, and I'm hoping that they'll have something soon. They do have a forum where I'm keeping watch on what's happening there. It looks like they might have a beta out for us to test out by the end of this month. We'll see. I'm not holding my breath. Before I go any further, I just want to point out, too, that each week when I do these podcasts, I post the show notes, or all the links of everything I'm doing, underneath my YouTube video here. So if you're watching this on YouTube, please scroll down, click on the Show More button underneath, and you can get links to everything that I'm mentioning in this video, as well as the code that I'll talk about in a few minutes. Okay, so I've talked about the 3 third-party software solutions and where to find them. The last third-party software that I want to talk about isn't exactly a third-party driver for the Rift. It is a face tracking, head tracking software called FaceTrackNoIR, and also referred to as OpenTrack. They don't have a dedicated website. They have a SourceForge page with a lot of good information on it, and again, the link is in the show notes below. You'll see where that comes into play in a couple of minutes here. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to talk about the Vereio Perception drivers today because they're the only thing that's available to the community at this time. When you download the Vereio Perception drivers, you'll end up with a zip file. You want to extract that file to a location. There's no installation required. Inside the main Perception folder, you'll find 4 subfolders: bin, config, fx, and image. Inside of bin, you will find 3 DLL files that are very important, as well as the Perception executable. In the config subfolder, you'll find a file called profiles.xml. First thing you're going to want to do is back up this profiles.xml file, because we're going to be modifying it, and you always want to keep a backup of anything you're modifying, right? So as you can see here, I put a profiles old.xml. That's my original. If I ever need to restore it, I can just delete the new one and rename the original back to its original. Inside this profiles file, if you open it with a text editor, you'll find a whole bunch of profile lines with different games listed on them. The drivers come straight from them with several games listed, but I had to add in iRacing, and I just added 2 lines, one for each executable, the 32-bit and the 64-bit version of iRacing. I also added a line for Dirt 2 and a line for Dirt 3 with a little bit better configurations than what they had by default. So I suggest you do the same if you want to try out Dirt 2 or Dirt 3. After you do that, you can launch the driver by double-clicking the Perception executable, and it opens the Vereio Perception driver interface. It's a very simple thing. It's just got 2 drop-downs. The top drop-down talks or tells the software how to format the screen to display on whatever device you're using. If you're using an Oculus Rift, obviously select Oculus Rift. But if you've done a do-it-yourself Rift, or if you're experimenting with some other solution, it even has an anaglyph, I can't pronounce it, you know, the colored 3D scheme. The second drop-down is for tracking. The last selection on the tracking drop-down is Oculus Track, but there are other tracking methods if you're experimenting with something else. It's nice to have options. Okay, so for iRacing and for Dirt 2 and for Dirt 3, we're going to select Oculus Rift on the top and no tracking on the bottom. And then you're going to open up OpenTrack. Again, this is a zip file that you download and extract, and then just double-click the executable. It's very simple. There's no installation required. Now, on the OpenTrack interface here, you have tracker source first equals master, and underneath tracker source second. And on the first one, obviously, you're going to select the Rift. So that's going to take the sensor data from the Rift and send that data into the game to give you head tracking in an appropriate fashion. The second tracker source, you can also add Hydra in there if you have a Hydra controller, and this will give you positional tracking. So, you know, I've done quite a bit of testing with the Hydra controller strapped on the Oculus Rift's top strap, and that'll allow you to, you know, move side to side, lean in and out, to kind of look in at your gauges and that sort of thing. However, for racing, I don't typically use the Hydra. I haven't found that it really gives any benefit. I'm not doing a whole lot of this during racing. Mostly I'm looking side to side or checking my rear view mirror. All those things can be done with just the single tracker, so I leave the Hydra on and off. After that, you make sure you're holding your Rift approximately where eyes would go and straight in front of you, and you click on Start, and it starts tracking the tracker, and you can verify that it is picking up the sensor in this little window here. And then you can start your game and begin to play. So, let's check out iRacing, and then from there we'll move on to Dirt 2. So let's step in here to the Rift and iRacing. I'm going to be doing a lap or two at Spa in the Ford GT. And SimVibe is working fine with everything else. As you can see, the interior is fully rendered in the iRacing vehicle. I've got a fire extinguisher down on my right hand side on the passenger side floorboard, and also a few other doodads. It's pretty cool looking down. See my body, my arms on the steering wheel. Feels quite immersive right off the bat. The mirrors are barely legible. I could probably see a car coming from about 20 meters back, at least in the side mirror. And the rear view mirror maybe only 15 meters back. And looking straight ahead, I think I could probably watch cars all the way up over the hill right now, but the resolution is obviously very low. You know, everybody's been talking about this, and I wasn't expecting to have really high resolution. And it doesn't really seem to concern me or bother me too much, just because I didn't have high expectations as far as resolution goes. Right off the bat, it's very easy to keep track of where I'm going, to sense my direction, despite not having G-forces on my body. I do have the rumble through my SimVibe setup, which does give me some tactile feedback from the road texture. Right off the bat, the most difficult thing that I can notice is that any sudden movement, any jiggles of my head, and my eyes have a hard time maintaining focus on whatever it is I'm looking at, because the screen's bobbing up and down in front of me. So even just shifting up or down causes a bit of bobble and causes me to momentarily lose focus. This is definitely, I think, going to be an issue that is going to be a difficult one to overcome for racers. I suppose with time you probably start to get used to it, but I don't think it's something that you'd ever fully get used to. So I think it's going to be something that they're going to have to work on improving. I think lighter weight and smaller screens are going to be important, but also screens with faster response times and less faster pixel rates and refresh rates. So, because each little jiggle and stuff. Got a Corvette on my tail. Let's go around on the right. Go ahead, man. Alright, cool. Looking into the turns feels really natural in the Rift. I was really worried about that, as I mentioned in my last episode, that looking into the turns and that sort of thing would be disorienting. Oh, see? Saying that, talking and not paying attention, see what happens? Lose track of where I'm at. Looking at the mirror feels fine, but then when I bring my eyes back to the road, of course there's that, I don't want to call it lag, but where it's hard to focus on the screen. A lot of people have been calling it motion blur. It doesn't feel like it really blurs. It makes it harder to get a focus, that's for sure. I can't see my F3 box, so I'm really relying on my mirrors to watch for traffic. But I'm guessing that the resolution that I'm actually using to look out the front window of the vehicle, out the windshield, the resolution's probably like maybe 240 pixels tall and, you know, maybe 600 pixels wide is my normal field of view as I'm watching. So imagine that low of resolution. I'm just guessing based on how many pixels I see, because they're very visible. I could almost sit here and count them if I wanted to. You know, everybody knows what they're working on. Getting a high resolution screen on there. They just demoed that 1080p screen at E3. I don't think even that's going to be enough. But I think just as important as the resolution, as I mentioned in my last episode, is going to be the quality of the screen and the response time, the pixel refresh speed. All those types of things are going to be just as vital, because these little jiggles and stuff can be disorienting. Like right here, especially where I'm downshifting 4 or 5 shifts in a row. It's hard to keep any kind of focus on the road. It's a bit disorienting. But other than that, it feels pretty good and pretty natural. And I'm pretty happy with. So in some ways I would say it's better than I expected, other ways it's worse than I expected, or as bad as. But I definitely feel like I'm excited to get more seat time in with it, because it is a lot of fun and it's very immersive. It doesn't quite feel, a lot of people have been talking about the field of view and how any wider than this it wouldn't be realistic, because, you know, you're wearing a helmet in real life. But I think they need to, iRacing probably needs to come up with an in-helmet view, because my vertical field of view right now feels way too wide if I was wearing a helmet. The horizontal feels about right, but the vertical feels way too tall. Okay, I think that gives you enough to look at for iRacing. Let's move on to our next title. Alright, our next title is Dirt 2. The menu systems are just too zoomed in to navigate. Can't can't see anything around the peripheral, and everything's like right up in your face.
The time is almost near. Everything looks shipshape now, and everyone will soon be here. Tommy brought his champion ring, and Sarah brought her new stilettos. Brian brought his Beastie Boys and his brand new tuxedo. And so hey, let's dance the night away and bang bang the boogie like Kid Rock said. I don't know who you are, you dance just like a star in a video show. I wonder who you are, do you hear me though? Tonight might not be the best time that we've ever had, but it may be the best time ever to realize what we have. So let's pull out those Pink Floyd records, and how about some old Def Leppard? Turn it to 10 and we'll do it all again, because it's now or never. And so hey, let's dance the night away, bang bang the boogie like Kid Rock said. I don't know who you are, you dance just like a star in a video show. I wonder who you are, do you hear me though? Hey, let's dance the night away and bang bang the boogie like Kid Rock said. I don't know who you are, you dance just like a star in a video show. I wonder who you are, do you hear me though?
Hey, so I apologize, I had to concentrate a bit on that last part with Dirt 3. It's really immersive, but just maintaining your awareness, placing yourself on the track takes a little bit extra concentration, so no discussions on that last bit. I did want to mention though that the field of view was set with a special tool in Dirt 2 there. My field of view I had set to 80 degrees, and I still feel like it's a little bit too wide, like you're pushed a little bit too far back in the car. I'll probably bring that forward to maybe 75% later. It was suggested in the forum thread at Meant to Be Seen 3D to put 90 degrees, but that was way too far back in the car, I think. 80 felt a lot better. 75 might be optimal, in my opinion. So that's about it for this week. Thanks again a bunch for joining me. And if you have any discussions you want to talk about the video, please leave some comments below, or join discussion on the Meant to Be Seen 3D forums. I'm on there quite regularly, and yeah, I'd love to discuss stuff with y'all. So thanks for joining me this week, and I'll see you again soon.